Thanks for taking the time to attend this webinar. It should take about 20 minutes, we're hoping. We haven't rehearsed it ahead of time, but we're fairly certain we can get through this fairly quickly. Today I have Joella with me. Joella's contact information is on the home tab of the Caseworker Resource Center. If you need to reach her, I'm Steve, and my email is here, my phone is here. Feel free to contact us after the presentation today if you have any questions or any new ideas. The purpose of our webinar today is to demonstrate how to use the recent enhancement related to employer information in the Caseworker Resource Center. And the purpose of this enhancement is to assist you as you help your clients find employment. And the idea behind the enhancement is that those employers who have hired Johnson County clients in the past are more likely than other employers to hire your current clients. So we're simply providing you with data about employers who have hired clients of the Human Service Departments in the past. And our presentation today will be twofold. One, just a straight demonstration of how to use the enhancement, and then secondly, a brief explanation of who has access to the enhancement. Before I begin actually demonstrating the enhancement, I want to draw your attention to one part of, and I guess I should mention, I am using, I've already logged in here, and I'm using Internet Explorer 7. This enhancement works in Internet Explorer 8 and other browsers as well. I wanted to draw attention, though, to in the Services tab, if you do a search under Category for Income Support and Employment, just want to make sure everyone's aware that there is a significant amount of information in here about employment-related resources. So if you haven't taken the time to go through these particular services within the Income Support and Employment category, you might want to do that at some point. The employer data is available not in the Services tab, although it could be with a little work. It's available now just in the Map tab. If you notice on the right where there's the list of layers, you'll notice a new layer here called Employers. You notice the box next to it is grayed out. At this scale of the map, you can't see any of the employers. It would simply overwhelm the map. There's too many points. So what we require you to do is zoom in an area, and you'll notice that eventually this checkbox becomes active so that you can turn it on. So I'm going to click the checkbox there, and you'll notice we have these blue dollar signs that come on at that point, and those are employers who have hired Johnson County clients in the past. I'm in the Metcalf and Johnson Drive area here, and you'll notice as I zoom in even farther, the labels for each of the employers comes on so that you can find out who that particular employer is. Don't forget you've got a satellite view. This may not show up real well on this monitor, but you have a satellite view too to give yourself a sense of realism here. I want to make note of the fact that this is not data that's just limited to Johnson County. I'm going to move over to the Kansas City, Missouri area. You notice we have employers even in Missouri. And if we pan over here to Wyandotte County in Kansas, you'll notice that we're displaying employers in Wyandotte County as well. I'm going to zoom in on this particular area. And notice we have 3 employers. As we zoom in, that one large dot is now turned into 3 different employers. And I want to show you how to use the Identify tool. First, you need to come up here. There's now a set of tools at the top and you click on the little I up here, which stands for identify. You make that your active tool, and then you move your mouse over top of one of the dollar signs, and some information about that employer comes up. We're simply tracking some basic contact information about each employer. Phone, if we have tracked a website, we'll have that listed here. And then employee count, I'll explain in a minute. Tomahawk Incorporated has a URL here, so we can quickly go out and view the link for that particular employer. Again, many of these employers are nationwide, so you may not be going to a local website. You may be going to more of a national type website. Please note the verbiage at the bottom here, and you may also want to note this copy. If I click the word copy, you may get this message, you may not. Do you want to allow this web page to access your clipboard? I'm going to say allow access. What's happened is we've copied this information to your clipboard on your desktop, and now if I open, say, Microsoft Word or Excel, or in this case, I opened it in WordPad, and I simply do a paste, I have that information that was listed here translated over into this application. The idea, obviously, is if you're working with a client and you identify a few specific employers in an area, you could simply copy and paste them in here and provide that to your client. I want to make note of the fact that there's duplication of employers. This is a repository of employers, and because the data is coming from multiple sources, sometimes you'll be retrieving multiple records. Let me show you an example here. I'm going to zoom over towards Merriam and scroll down to Countryside Motors here. I have my identify tool as my active tool. I click on here, and Country Hill Motors, I'm sorry. Notice we have two records come back in that situation because the databases that we're pulling from are, in this situation, two of those databases are recording information about that employer. So we really have a difficult time of weeding that out because names will be different. We have no common way of eliminating duplication, so you're simply going to sometimes retrieve multiple records. In this situation, you'll note employee count is 1. In that situation, our adult residential center is tracking the number of employees they've placed here. Currently, they have placed here, and that is what that number reveals. In many situations, our other databases don't track that, so that will simply be blank. Please also bear in mind, I'm going to zoom out here, that when you turn on employers, there may be some confusion with other pieces of the map depending on what you have turned on at the time. I'm going to come down here to an area where there is a lot of employers and a lot of other things going on here. As I zoom in, you'll notice labels coming on for Bristol Apartments, a fire station. You'll see Price Chopper, Kohl's Department Store. These particular ones, Hy-Vee, Kohl's, Price Chopper, Tesco, Tandem, these are major employers. They have more than 50 employees. It's a data set we put on here simply as a point of reference. It has nothing to do with the employer data set. We put them on as their landmarks that people typically know about. They will also probably be employers that we have used here in the county, and so you may run into some confusion when you see that they'll be listed as a major employer, a point of reference, as well as an employer that we're tracking here in the county. I'll make one other mention that if you find information about employers that is wrong, and you know it's wrong, the phone number, the name, or this employer is no longer in business, I would encourage you to come over to the Home tab, and in the section here called Get Help, Make Suggestions, I would encourage you to send us an email. Just click this other, send us an email and identify the specific situation that's wrong, and we'll try to get her fixed as fast as possible. Just one other note before I turn it over to Joella. Currently, the data that is being displayed here regarding employers is coming from two sources. One is the Adult Residential Center and their tracking of employers, and the second is data that was initially extracted from the Kansas Department of Corrections code system, and which has been subsequently verified and updated by Caseworker Resource Center staff. If you know of additional data sources that you would like to contribute to this effort or have any other ideas, don't hesitate to get in contact with me. Each night we import these two data sources and make it available in the Caseworker Resource Center, so the data is essentially fresh each day. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Joella to speak to you about who has access to this enhancement.
Good morning. This is Joella Hoy with the County Manager's Office, and my portion of this webinar may be a refresher for those of you with client access, because you have already seen this information exchange procedure confidentiality agreement. For those of you who have mapping and services access only, you have not seen this, and the reason that I am pulling this up here to show everyone is because the information that is in the Caseworker Resource Center is privileged information for those who have access to it. And we want to make sure that employees and those with access are very responsible, specifically when it deals with working with the businesses who many of us have worked very hard to build strong relationships with. And we want these folks to continue hiring our clients in the future. I wanted to point out a couple of areas here where it says, I understand that I may only view, obtain, disclose, or use the database information that is necessary in performing my job. So what this means is that personal use of this information is not allowed here. This is to serve our clients, not ourselves. And then you'll also see down below where it says, I understand that I cannot and will not disclose the information I discover from either the Resource Center database or from other caseworkers unless I'm clearly authorized to do so based on department policies and procedures. So this is saying that when we copy and paste those employers over on that sheet of paper to give to our clients, that's something that is okay for us to do, because we're giving them a head start saying, these have hired, we've had clients successful here in the past, go ahead and give it a try. It's not saying I'm going to print this off and give it to my neighborhood so that they know, where to go look for a job or where to do business or something like that. So we really need to expect the rights of privacy for these businesses and treat them with respect in order to keep having good experiences with those folks. As Steve mentioned before, this is a past history of the client employment, and by handing information to the clients, it is definitely not a guarantee that any of these places are hiring at this time. So it's very important to make sure that clients understand that as well. With that, Steve and I will take any questions that you may have. Please feel free to contact me at 715-0739 if you have any questions or concerns. But other than that, just go ahead and type in the question section if anyone has any questions. Steve, do you have anything else?
No. Again, we'll hang around here for a little bit and answer questions that come in. This is not quite as personal as having actually an audio conference, but this is poor man's way to go about this. So if you have a question, don't hesitate to type it in, and we'll see if we can respond to it. Thanks again for those of you who don't have any questions. You're welcome to depart the webinar, but we sure appreciate your attention. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to get a hold of Joella or me. Okay, there's a question that's come in from Dan. Where do I get the agreement?
This is not something that we're going to require anyone who doesn't have client access to sign. I just wanted to point out that these are some of the important aspects of the Caseworker Resource Center. And Steve, we can go ahead and have him just post this agreement, if that's okay with you, on the Caseworker Resource Center for folks to review so that they understand